sisters, and pretty much everybody still back in Holland. So that was his last trip back in 1984. Dad enjoyed his grandkids. Every person that I've met and some of the responses that people have left on the Ventura County Star guest book was Dad was proud of his kids and loved his grandkids. That was very, very clear and apparent. He also loved music. He always had music playing. I grew up listening to Brazil 66, Astrid Gerlando, etc. And the reason why I mention that is because in junior high, most kids were singing songs like Twisted Sister, We're Not Gonna Take It Anymore. And I was walking around singing Girl from Ipanema. So I was always different and always had that flavor of music in my life, thanks to Dad. And that's become a part of us. As you saw Dad's guitars, and there was a clip of Dad playing with Karen and singing, and so you'll get to hear that in the reception portion. But Dad always enjoyed music and arranging music and vocals. In 1992, Dad picked up ballroom dancing, and I believe there was a picture of that as well. Dad was really pretty good at it, so he was just all over the floor. And I think he even won a trophy, is that correct? And I think that trophy is out there as well, and his shoes. So Dad really enjoyed the dancing. His last years, Dad was very, very active up until his emphysema hit. And he was active. I mean, he was going to Hawaii. He was driving himself around, very fine physically. In 2001, he was diagnosed with emphysema. We all thought that this was going to do Dad in. But Dad, on his own, went to the doctors, started eating better, started taking better care of himself, started working out, and he actually improved his health all on his own. And if you know my dad, that's him. He is a person who does not give up. And he is stubborn, and he continued just fighting, and he did that. He did very well in 2001 after being diagnosed with emphysema. He also then contracted double pneumonia a little bit later after that. In 2005, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and just because of his age, they did some hormonal treatment rather than do the full-on treatment. After that point, Dad needed someone to look after him, to help him up, to help him get down, help him in and out of the restroom, and that type of thing. That was hard for him. He didn't like that because he just wanted to do things himself, and that's just so Dad. He was mentally sharp. This was very difficult to watch happen because we knew that Dad was not liking this part of his life. And he always just wanted his own independence back. And that was very hard to see. And Dad did everything he could to keep as much independence as he could. So in May of 2008, Dad had a living caretaker, a great person who became close with our family. In July 2008, Dad had a fungal infection in his eye. In September of 2008, Dad moved into a boarding care called Millennium Care, right here by Simi High School. And he had rough times there because he didn't want to give up. He didn't want to stop trying to get up on his own and get stuff. So Dad started falling. And unbelievably, Dad never broke a hip, never broke a leg. He would just get bruises. And he would try and reach for things, and he would fall, etc. And those were, again, tough times because we were trying to tell Dad, take it easy, ask for help. But Dad would not listen, and he would just still continue to try and do most things on his own. On December 14th, Dad went to his last big Christmas party with Millennium Care, and he looked great. He just looked great. In fact, when we walked in, my wife and I said, "Wow, Dad looks really, really good." And he got to be with a lot of his kids and his grandkids in that last party on 12/14. And after we left, he even had picked up a guitar from the band that was there and started leading everybody in some songs. And from what I hear, he played well, and they had to take the guitar from him. He didn't want to give it up because they couldn't play it from him. On 12/18, I had my last conversation with Dad just before his collapse. And as I was speaking with Dad on the phone, something occurred to me that this was a very, very different phone call. Dad was encouraging me in my job situation, encouraging me just to stay after it, and he was just so positive that I remember just feeling as the call went on that this is really different. Dad had a different tone in his voice, and I said goodbye to him. Well, he would say okay, as if the conversation was going to end, but he didn't hang up. He wanted to keep talking, so we kept talking. And he would say, okay. And then we'd keep talking. And so I just thought, I'm going to continue to talk to Dad as long as he wants to. And then finally, at around 8:45, 10:50, Dad said, well, I'm really tired. I'm going to go to bed. And that was my last conversation with Dad. And after that is when he collapsed, and we were all able to spend Friday with him in his last few hours. There was one point that I want to share with you, though, when Dad had the double pneumonia, that was really hard for me as his son. That when I went to go visit him, he looked horrible. I had never seen Dad that down and so close to looking as if he may die. But it was then I realized that my dad needed me to tell him to continue on, and to tell him, Dad, you're a fighter, you're strong, you come back from these things. And I had to do that. And it was just a turning point in my relationship with him. And he shared with me later, when he did recover from that was a crucial conversation when I went to visit him in the hospital. And that was just, again, it's just, as I get older, it was like a role reversal with my dad. Now I was encouraging him to continue living, continue trying. So, stories about Dad. As you all know, Dad passed on 12/19 at 8:52 p.m. And it was a beautiful time. Most of the grandkids were able to be with him that last day and talk with him, and he would look our direction and would acknowledge that he heard us. And Maureen, Rita, and Joyce were with him when he passed at 8:52. Immediately then, we got to know her. But some of the key memories that I have with Dad, as being the youngest, and you'd think I would be Dad's favorite because I was the youngest. It wasn't that way at all. I was actually Mom's favorite, and all the sisters, of course, babied me. So I enjoyed that, and poor Roy took the brunt of that because I pretty much got away most of the time. But one thing I remember most about my dad is most things ended up with somebody crying. Whenever Dad tried to explain things to us, someone always ended up crying, just because he would just get so stubborn and just get so adamant about things sometimes. So finally, it was my turn to learn how to drive a car with Dad. Now, I had seen all my brothers and sisters go through this, and every one of them came back crying, slamming doors, going to their room, my dad going in the other direction. But I was determined to make this different. For some reason, I thought